14 days, one city, centuries of treasure. June 455, the Eternal City, Rome, heart of an empire that once ruled the known world. Now, dark sails appear on the Tiber River, Vandal ships, hundreds of them. The people watch from their windows, knowing what's coming, knowing they can't stop it. At the prow of the lead ship stands a man, 66 years old, lame in one leg, but his eyes burn with something Rome hasn't seen in centuries. Not fury, not hatred, calculation. King Gaiseric, the barbarian who built a fleet from nothing, the pirate who stole Rome's breadbasket, the tactician who would defeat the greatest armada ever assembled. And right now, he's about to do something no one thought possible anymore: make Rome bleed. This isn't a story about destruction. It's a story about the man who saw the Roman Empire dying and decided to pick the carcass clean. This is how one lame barbarian king broke the back of the Western world. The year is 428 AD. The Roman Empire is dying. Not the dramatic death you see in movies. Slow, grinding, like watching a building collapse in slow motion, one brick at a time. The Western Empire and Eastern Empire are now separate. Different emperors, different capitals. The East has Constantinople, rich and secure behind triple walls. The West has Ravenna, a swamp fortress where scared emperors hide from their own generals. Rome itself is no longer the capital. Think about that. The Eternal City, reduced to a provincial town with delusions of grandeur. The Senate still meets. The forums still stand. But the power is gone. The legions are gone. The money is gone. Where did the money go? Africa. Specifically, the provinces of North Africa stretching from modern Morocco to Libya. These weren't just colonies. They were the engine. Africa produced the grain that fed Rome's population, the olive oil that lit its lamps, the tax revenue that paid what few soldiers remained. Without Africa, the Western Empire was just land and memories. And in 428, the Vandals were about to take it all. The Vandals, Germanic tribe from what is now Poland. For 22 years, they'd been running across the Rhine, through Gaul, into Spain, always moving, always fighting, always hungry. They weren't the biggest tribe, weren't the strongest. The Visigoths were crushing them in Spain, slowly pushing them into the sea. But they had something the others didn't. They had Gaiseric, born around 389, illegitimate son of the previous king, lame from falling off a horse. In most barbarian cultures, that would disqualify him from leadership. Disability meant weakness. But Gaiseric's tribe was desperate. When his half-brother Gunderic died in 428, they chose him anyway. Best decision they ever made. Worst decision, Rome never prevented. The historian Jordanes described him like this: of moderate height and lame, in consequence of a fall from his horse. A man of deep thought and few of words, holding luxury in disdain, furious in anger, greedy for gain, shrewd in winning over barbarians, and skilled in sowing the seeds of dissension. Read that again? Deep thought and few of words. This wasn't a screaming berserker. This was a chess player, and he was about to make his first move. If you want more history like this, subscribe. And if you're enjoying it, hit the like button. It helps. May 429, southern Spain. Gaiseric stands on the beach, looking across the Strait of Gibraltar. 9 kilometers of water, between poverty and prosperity, between death and power, between Spain and Africa. He makes a decision that will change history. We're crossing. The crossing of 429 is one of history's most audacious migrations. Gaiseric didn't just take warriors. He took everyone. 80,000 people, according to Vandal records. Men, women, children, elderly, livestock, wagons, everything they owned. This wasn't a raid. This was colonization. Win or die. To move 80,000 people across water, Gaiseric needed ships. Lots of ships. The Vandals weren't sailors. They were Germanic warriors who viewed the ocean with superstition. But Gaiseric wasn't bound by tradition. He seized every vessel in southern Spanish ports, Roman merchant ships, fishing boats, anything that floated. His men learned to sail by doing it. Modern historians debate whether a Roman general named Bonifacius actually invited Gaiseric to Africa as a mercenary. The sources say yes. Bonifacius was fighting a civil war against the imperial court, needed allies, sent word to Gaiseric. "Come help me, I'll give you land." But here's the thing. Even if Bonifacius sent the invitation, Gaiseric wasn't coming as a mercenary. He was coming as a conqueror. The invitation wasn't an opportunity. It was an excuse. May 429. The crossing begins. Picture it. Thousands of people crammed into boats that were never meant to carry them, crossing one of the most dangerous straits in the Mediterranean. No naval experience, no backup plan. If a storm hit, they all died. No storm came. Maybe luck, maybe God, maybe Gaiseric's timing was just that good. They landed in Mauritania Tingitana, modern-day Morocco, Roman Africa, the wealthiest provinces in the Western Empire, and almost completely undefended. Why undefended? Because Rome was busy, fighting Visigoths in Gaul, fighting itself in Italy. The African garrisons had been stripped for civil wars. The border forts were undermanned. The towns relied on walls built 200 years ago. Gaiseric looked at Roman Africa and saw a feast with no guards. He started marching east, not raiding, marching. His people settling in towns, taking over estates. Roman landowners fled or submitted. Local Berber tribes watched, waiting to see who would win. Bonifacius, realizing too late what he'd unleashed, tried to stop them. Bonifacius lost. Every time. The Vandals pushed east along the coast, absorbing territory like a flood. By 430, they reached Hippo Regius, modern Annaba, Algeria, a major city, fortified, defended. And inside those walls was one of Christianity's most famous minds, Saint Augustine, Bishop of Hippo, 75 years old, author of Confessions and City of God, theological giant, now trapped in a city under siege. The siege of Hippo lasted 14 months. Gaiseric didn't have siege engines, didn't need them. He just waited, blocked the roads, blocked the harbor, let hunger do the work. Inside, people starved, ate rats, ate leather, ate each other, some sources claim. Augustine spent his final days praying for deliverance that never came. In August 430, he died. Some say from grief, some say from illness. Doesn't matter. The greatest mind in Western Christianity died watching barbarians destroy his world. Hippo fell in 431, not to assault. The defenders just left, abandoned the walls, fled. The Vandals walked in and found a ghost town. Gaiseric made it his capital. For now, Hippo was practice. Carthage was the prize. Carthage, ancient enemy of Rome, destroyed by Scipio Africanus in 146 BC, rebuilt by Julius Caesar, now the second greatest city in the Western Empire, capital of Roman Africa, home to 100,000 people. Grain shipments to Rome left from Carthage's harbor. Tax revenue flowed through Carthage's treasury. Control Carthage, control Africa. Control Africa, control Rome's food supply. In 435, Rome tried to stop the bleeding. A treaty. The Vandals could keep the poor provinces, Mauritania, part of Numidia. Rome kept Carthage and the rich proconsular Africa. Both sides pretended this was peace. Gaiseric pretended best of all. He spent 4 years preparing, training his men, building ships, learning the layout of Carthage from captured Romans, studying the harbor defenses, the guard rotations, the weak points. Gaiseric didn't believe in fair fights. He believed in winning. October 19, 439. A date Rome would remember. The Vandals attacked. Sources differ on exactly how. Some say Gaiseric claimed he wanted to negotiate, got his men inside the gates under false pretenses, then struck. Others say a section of wall was betrayed by a sympathetic Roman. Doesn't matter. The result was the same. Carthage fell in a day, not sacked, not burned, captured, intact. Gaiseric wanted the city functioning, needed the granaries, needed the harbor, needed the infrastructure. This wasn't revenge. This was investment. The Roman garrison surrendered. The city government surrendered. The people stayed. Life continued, just under new management. Gaiseric moved his capital from Hippo to Carthage, took over the Roman governor's palace, started calling himself Rex Vandalorum et Alanorum, king of the Vandals and Alans. Rome panicked. The Eastern Empire panicked. The grain supply was cut. Carthage's ships weren't sailing to Rome anymore. They were sailing for Gaiseric. The Western Emperor Valentinian III sent a fleet to retake Carthage. Gaiseric sank it, sent another. Gaiseric sank that too. The Vandals, who'd never been sailors 10 years ago, were now the dominant naval power in the Mediterranean. And Gaiseric wasn't done. He looked at the map. Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, islands, rich, defenseless. He took them, one by one. By 442, Rome was forced to sign another treaty, this time recognizing Vandal ownership of the good provinces, all of them. Gaiseric had won, built a kingdom from nothing, a fleet from nothing, an empire from nothing. But he wasn't satisfied, because there was one thing left to take, one symbol left to break. Rome itself, March 16, 455, Ravenna. The Western Roman Emperor Valentinian III is murdered, not by enemies, by his own bodyguard, stabbed to death in the Campus Martius during military exercises. Why? Revenge. Valentinian had executed a powerful general named Aetius months before. Aetius's supporters just returned the favor. The Western Empire is now without an emperor, without leadership, without hope. Gaiseric hears the news, smiles. Opportunity. Petronius Maximus becomes emperor. He didn't earn it. He bought it. Rich senator. Connected. Weak. Everyone knows he'll last maybe a year. Maximus makes a mistake. A big one. He tries to legitimize his rule by marrying Valentinian's widow, Licinia Eudoxia, Empress, Theodosian dynasty, the most prestigious bloodline left in Rome. But there's a problem. Licinia Eudoxia was already promised to someone else. Her daughter, Eudocia, was engaged to Gaiseric's son, Huneric. Political marriage, sealed with oaths, binding. Maximus's forced marriage broke that oath. Some sources say Licinia Eudoxia herself sent a secret message to Gaiseric. Come save me. I'm a prisoner. Whether she actually sent it or Gaiseric just claimed she did, we don't know. Doesn't matter. Gaiseric had his excuse. He gathered his fleet, called every ship, every warrior. This wasn't a raid. This was a statement. He was going to do what no one had done in 45 years. What many thought could never happen again. He was going to sack Rome. Late May 455. The Vandal fleet leaves Carthage. Hundreds of ships, thousands of warriors. They sail north, hugging the African coast, then turn east toward Italy. Roman scouts spot them off Sicily. Send word to Rome. Panic. The Senate meets. Emergency session. What do we do? Emperor Maximus suggests fleeing. The Senate refuses. If we run, we're finished. They send messengers to the Gothic federates in Gaul. Help us. Too far away. They send messengers to the Eastern Empire. Help us. Too slow. Rome is alone. Pope Leo I. Yes, that Pope Leo, the one who supposedly turned back Attila the Hun 5 years earlier, volunteers to negotiate. He rides out from Rome toward the coast, an old man on a horse, carrying a cross, hoping that moral authority will stop what armies couldn't. June 2, 455. The Vandal fleet enters the Tiber River. Picture it. The Tiber isn't wide, maybe 100 meters at Rome. Shallow, but navigable for ships. The Vandals row upstream, dark sails, hundreds of them. A river of wood and steel flowing toward the city. Romans line the banks, watching, not fighting. What would they fight with? The city garrison is maybe 5,000 men. Militia, undertrained. The real legions are dead or far away. This isn't a battle. It's an execution. Pope Leo meets Gaiseric somewhere south of the city. The sources don't record the exact location. The meeting is brief. Leo asks for mercy. Gaiseric listens, nods, agrees to terms. No massacre, no burning, no raping. In exchange, Rome opens its gates, lets the Vandals in, gives them anything they want. Leo rides back to Rome, tells the people, the Vandals are coming. Don't fight. You'll only die. June 3, 455. The gates of Rome open. The Vandals walk in. 14 days. That's how long it takes to strip a civilization. Day 1. The Vandals enter through the Porta Portuensis. Gaiseric rides at the front. Lame leg. Old man. But nobody laughs. His warriors spread through the city like a plague. Not killing, just taking everything. First, the palaces. The imperial palace on the Palatine Hill. Not lived in by emperors for decades, but still full of treasure. Gold candlesticks, silver furniture, silk tapestries, ivory statues. Centuries of accumulated wealth. The Vandals loaded onto carts, mules, their own backs. Everything portable goes. The Forum, still the symbolic heart of Rome. The Vandals hit the temples. Temple of Jupiter Capitolinus, most sacred shrine in Rome. They climb onto the roof, start pulling off the gilded bronze tiles. One by one, the metal screams as it's ripped away. Romans watch from their homes. Some cry, most just stare. This is what the end looks like. Day 2 to 3, the churches. This is where it gets complicated. Gaiseric is Arian Christian, a heresy according to the Catholic Church. To him, Catholic churches are the temples of false teachers. He doesn't burn them, but he empties them. Silver chalices, gold crosses, jeweled altars, all of it stripped, loaded, taken. Pope Leo watches, can't stop it. This was the deal. No violence, but no protection for property either. Day 4 to 7. The aristocracy. Rome's senators and wealthy families live in massive houses, domus. Each one a compound of marble columns, mosaic floors, private libraries. The Vandals go door to door, not breaking in, knocking. Open the door. Give us your valuables, or we take you too. Most comply. Hand over their family treasures. Gold coins, silver plate, jewelry, artwork. Some hide their wealth. Bury it in gardens. Wall it up in cellars. The Vandals find most of it anyway. Torture helps. Remember, Gaiseric promised no massacre. He kept that promise, but he didn't promise no coercion, no force, no fear. His men don't kill people in the streets, but they beat whoever resists. Break bones, break wills. Day 8 to 10, the public buildings, libraries, bathhouses, granaries, warehouses, anything of value. The Vandals are systematic, efficient. This isn't random looting. This is organized extraction. Gaiseric has teams, one for metalwork, one for textiles, one for documents. Yes, documents. Imperial archives, senatorial records, legal papers, property deeds. Why? Because information is wealth. Day 11 to 12, the artifacts. This is where history breaks. The Vandals load their ships with items that haven't left Rome in centuries. Statues from conquered kingdoms, trophies from ancient triumphs. The Vandals don't know what half this stuff is. Doesn't matter. It's gold. It's valuable. It goes. And then there's the Temple of Jerusalem artifacts. In 70 AD, Titus sacked Jerusalem, destroyed the Second Temple, brought the treasures back to Rome. The menorah, the table of showbread, the silver trumpets, sacred objects, paraded in Titus's triumph. Displayed in the Temple of Peace. For 385 years, they've sat in Rome. Symbols of Rome's power over the Jewish people. Gaiseric takes them, loads them onto his flagship. These aren't just treasures, they're symbols, proof that Rome can't protect anything anymore. Day 13 to 14. The final humiliation. Gaiseric takes prisoners, not soldiers, hostages, high-value captives. The Empress Liciniia Eudoxia, her daughters Eudocia and Placidia, senators' wives, artisans, skilled workers, anyone useful. Why artisans? Because Gaiseric needs them. Shipwrights, engineers, mosaic artists. He's building a kingdom. Needs talent. These people aren't slaves. Not exactly. They're assets. Forced immigrants. Eudocia, the emperor's daughter, is especially valuable. She's engaged to Gaiseric's son. Now Gaiseric has her in person. The marriage will happen in Carthage, under his terms. June 16, 455. The Vandals leave. They don't burn Rome. Don't destroy the aqueducts. Don't massacre the population. The city stands, intact, empty, picked clean like a whale carcass after the sharks have fed. Emperor Petronius Maximus is already dead. He tried to flee Rome on day one of the sack, made it to the city gates. A mob of angry Romans recognized him, tore him apart, literally. His body was thrown in the Tiber. The Vandal ships, now loaded to the waterline with treasure, row back down the Tiber, back to the sea, back to Carthage. Gaiseric stands at the prow of his flagship. Behind him, Rome burns. Not from Vandal fires, from Roman despair. Some citizens have set their own homes ablaze, preferring ashes to shame. Gaiseric doesn't look back. He's already thinking ahead. The sack of Rome changes everything. Not militarily. Rome was already weak. But psychologically, spiritually, the Eternal City has been sacked twice in 45 years. First by Alaric's Visigoths, now by Gaiseric's Vandals. The message is clear. Rome is mortal, and Gaiseric isn't done killing it. After 455, Gaiseric is unstoppable. He returns to Carthage, unloads his treasure, distributes it among his warriors, displays the Temple of Jerusalem artifacts in his palace, the menorah, the sacred instruments, symbols of his power. He's now not just a barbarian king, he's the man who humbled Rome. But Rome wants revenge. 456. Emperor Avitus sends a fleet under Ricimer. Battle off the coast of Corsica. Ricimer wins, sinks several Vandal ships. Rome celebrates. We defeated Gaiseric. But Gaiseric barely notices. He has hundreds of ships. Losing a dozen is Tuesday. 460. New Western Emperor Majorian. Young, ambitious, actually competent. Rare combination. He builds a new fleet in Spain, over 300 ships, a proper invasion force. The goal? Retake Carthage, end the Vandal Kingdom. Gaiseric hears about it, sends spies to Spain. They report back. The fleet is anchored at Cartagena, not ready, vulnerable. Gaiseric acts, launches a surprise attack with his own fleet, night raid, fire ships, boarding actions. By dawn, Majorian's fleet is destroyed. The invasion dies before it launches. Majorian returns to Italy in disgrace. Within months, he's deposed and executed by his own generals. Gaiseric didn't just defeat the fleet, he destroyed an emperor. But the real test comes in 468, the Battle of Cape Bon, the greatest naval engagement of the age. The Eastern Emperor Leo I decides to end this. The Vandal Kingdom is disrupting trade, raiding Byzantine ports, kidnapping citizens for ransom. Enough. Leo assembles the largest armada in Roman history. Over 1,000 ships, 100,000 men. Joint operation with the Western Empire. The goal, total war. Destroy the Vandals. Reconquer Africa. The fleet is commanded by Basiliscus, Leo's brother-in-law. Decent general. Not great. But with this many ships, does it matter? The armada sails from Constantinople, stops at Sicily, regroups, then heads for Carthage. The plan is simple. Land near the city, march on Carthage, besiege. With 100,000 men, the Vandals can't win. Gaiseric is 79 years old, lame, facing the largest invasion force ever assembled against a barbarian kingdom. Everyone expects him to sue for peace, beg for terms. Instead, he attacks. Gaiseric sends a message to Basiliscus. Let's negotiate. no need for war. Basiliscus, confident, agrees, sends a delegation. They talk for days. Gaiseric seems reasonable, conciliatory. Basiliscus thinks he's won without fighting. He's wrong. While negotiations proceed, Gaiseric prepares fire ships, old vessels filled with pitch, oil, dry wood, anything that burns. He waits for the wind. The Roman fleet is anchored at Cape Bon, just east of Carthage. Packed tight, professional formation, safe. The wind shifts, starts blowing toward the Roman anchorage. Strong, steady. Night falls. June 468, the Vandals strike. Fire ships, dozens of them, unmanned, sails set, rudders lashed. Just burning hulks push toward the Roman fleet. The wind carries them straight into the packed Roman ships. Chaos. Roman vessels try to push the fire ships away, but the ships are too close together. Flames spread, sails ignite, pitch explodes, oars catch fire. Men jump into the sea. Armor drags them down. While the Romans fight the flames, Vandal war galleys attack, ramming, boarding, exploiting the confusion. Basiliscus tries to restore order. Impossible. The fleet is burning. The sea is full of drowning men. The night is full of screams. By dawn, half the Roman fleet is destroyed. The rest scatters, fleeing. Some ships make it back to Constantinople. Most don't. Basiliscus himself escapes, barely. Returns to the capital in disgrace. The people want him executed. He hides in a church. The emperor spares him, barely. The cost? Sources claim the Eastern Empire lost equipment worth 64,000 pounds of gold, 700,000 pounds of silver, the modern equivalent of... There is no equivalent. It's catastrophic, bankrupting. The Eastern Empire's finances won't recover for a generation. Gaiseric won, again, at 79. Lame. Outnumbered 10-1, he won. After Cape Bon, Rome gives up. Both halves, east and west. Nobody tries to invade Africa again. In 474, Emperor Zeno signs a peace treaty, official, permanent, recognizing Vandals' sovereignty over Africa, Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, the Balearics. Gaiseric has won everything he fought for: a kingdom, security, recognition. He's the only barbarian king who defeated both halves of the Roman Empire. And he dies in his bed. January 25, 477. Carthage, the palace. Gaiseric is dying. He's 88 years old. Impossible age for that era. Most men were dead by 50. Warriors rarely saw 60. Gaiseric outlived everyone. Outlived Aetius. Outlived Attila. Outlived every Roman emperor who opposed him. Outlived his enemies and most of his friends. He lies in bed, lame leg, old body, but his mind is still sharp. Around him, his sons, his generals, his court. They wait. Kings don't retire, they die. And when they die, kingdoms often die with them. But Gaiseric planned for this. Years ago, he established a succession law. The crown passes to the oldest male of the royal house, not father to son, uncle to nephew if needed. Always the eldest. Always an adult. No child kings, no regencies, no civil wars. It's genius. It's also a poison pill, but Gaiseric doesn't know that yet. He names his son Huneric, the next king. Huneric is already 50-something, experienced, harsh, paranoid, but capable. Gaiseric gives him instructions. Keep the fleet strong. Keep Rome weak. Never trust treaties. Never stop expanding. Then Gaiseric closes his eyes and dies. Peacefully. No assassination, no battle, no poison, just age. After 49 years of war, conquest, and survival, Gaiseric dies the way almost no warrior king ever does, in his own bed, surrounded by family, victorious. His funeral is massive. The whole city of Carthage mourns, not because they loved him, because they feared what comes next. Gaiseric was the kingdom. Without him, Huneric becomes king, rules for 7 years. Decent king, but not his father. Nobody is. The succession law works. For now. When Huneric dies, his nephew Gunthamon takes over, then Gunthamon's cousin, then another cousin. Each transfer peaceful, but each king weaker, less capable, less feared. The kingdom survives. For a while, the Vandal fleet still controls the sea. African grain still flows to Vandal coffers. But the magic is gone. Gaiseric's genius was personal, not institutional. Without him, the kingdom is just another barbarian state, successful but mortal. 533. 56 years after Gaiseric's death, a fleet appears off Carthage. Byzantine ships, hundreds of them. Led by General Belisarius, the Eastern Empire has recovered. Emperor Justinian wants Africa back. He sends his best general, his best troops. The Vandals fight. They're still warriors, still proud, but they're not Gaiseric's Vandals anymore. They've been living soft, rich, comfortable. They fight 2 battles, lose both. The Byzantine army enters Carthage. The last Vandal king, Gelimer, flees into the mountains. Belisarius chases him, surrounds him, starves him out. Gelimer surrenders, is paraded through Constantinople in chains. The Vandal Kingdom ends, not with a battle, with a whimper. The Vandals themselves vanish from history. Within a generation, the name disappears. They assimilate, intermarry, become Byzantine citizens. The language dies. The culture dies. It's as if they never existed. Except they did. For 104 years, they ruled the richest province in the Western world. They defeated Rome. They invented naval piracy as a state strategy. They created a kingdom from pure will. And they did it because one lame barbarian king decided he could. What do we remember about the Vandals? Vandalism. That word. Senseless destruction. Mindless violence. We use it to describe teenagers spray painting walls, drunk people breaking windows, idiots smashing statues. The word was invented in 1794. French Revolution. A bishop named Henri Grégoire used it to shame revolutionaries who were destroying artwork. "You're acting like Vandals," he said, meaning you're barbarians, destroyers of civilization. The name stuck, and it's completely unfair. Gaiseric wasn't a Vandal, not in the modern sense. He didn't destroy Rome. He robbed it, methodically, professionally, carefully. He kept the city intact, kept the people alive, kept the infrastructure functioning, because destroyed cities are worthless. Living cities pay taxes. The Vandals, under Gaiseric, were pirates, conquerors, opportunists, but they weren't destroyers. Archaeological evidence proves it. Carthage flourished under Vandal rule. Trade continued. Art continued. Mosaics from the Vandal period are some of the finest in North Africa. The Vandals adopted Roman culture, lived in Roman villas, spoke Latin alongside their Germanic tongue. They weren't trying to destroy Rome. They were trying to become Rome, but they failed. Because kingdoms built by genius die with genius. Gaiseric was irreplaceable. His successors weren't stupid, but they weren't him. They couldn't see 10 moves ahead, couldn't outthink every enemy, couldn't turn disaster into opportunity. And so the kingdom died, and history remembered them wrong. Here's the irony, the cruel, beautiful irony. Gaiseric wanted to break Rome, and he did. The 455 sack was a mortal wound. The Western Empire staggered on for 21 more years, but it was dead. Everyone knew it. The treasury was empty. The grain supply was gone. The prestige was shattered. In 476, the last Western emperor was deposed by a Germanic general named Odoacer. The Senate sent the imperial regalia to Constantinople. Message received: the West is over. Gaiseric helped kill the Western Roman Empire. He lived to see it dying. Died knowing he'd won. But he didn't destroy Rome. He couldn't, because Rome wasn't a city. It was an idea. And ideas don't die when cities fall. They adapt, transform, survive. The Eastern Roman Empire became the Byzantine Empire, lasted another 1,000 years, spoke Greek, Christian, but still Roman, in spirit, in law, in identity. the Catholic Church became the new Rome. Popes wielding spiritual authority from the same city Gaiseric sacked. Latin became the language of learning. Roman law became the foundation of European justice. Roman architecture inspired cathedrals. Roman governance inspired kingdoms. Rome didn't die. It metastasized. And the Vandals? The people who supposedly destroyed civilization? They disappeared. Not defeated in battle, not massacred. They just dissolved into the Byzantine population, into history's footnotes, into a slur that misrepresents everything they actually were. Gaiseric beat Rome, but Rome outlived him, outlived his kingdom, outlived his people, outlived the memory of who the Vandals really were. That's the tragedy. The man who saw Rome dying and profited from it brilliantly. The lame king who built a fleet from nothing. The tactician who defeated the greatest armada in history. The conqueror who sacked the eternal city without burning it. The pirate who became a king. The barbarian who became a statesman. History remembers him as a Vandal, but Gaiseric was never a Vandal. He was a winner, and winners don't destroy, they take. And he took everything Rome couldn't defend. 14 days, one city, centuries of treasure. June 455, Rome bled. Not because it was weak, because Gaiseric was patient, ruthless, brilliant, because he saw the carcass before anyone else and decided to pick it clean. The Vandal who made Rome bleed wasn't a destroyer. He was a surgeon, cutting out wealth from a dying empire to build something new. Something that lasted 104 years. Not forever, but longer than anyone expected. Gaiseric died in bed, victorious, at 88, having outlived every enemy, having built a kingdom from nothing, having broken Rome's back. That's not vandalism, that's genius. And Rome, for all its pride, never recovered.